George Bullock, you're here with Zach Cox, our Patriots beat reporter here at Nesson. It's on to Week 12 for the Patriots, hosting the Chargers this Sunday, but the quarterback controversy and mystery continues. As we just saw at practice, Zach, the rep distribution for the portion open to the media, heavy Bailey Zappe throwing passes to wide receivers, little bit of Malik Cunningham mixed in, no Mac Jones, who is fully dressed in full uniform, but standing off to the side.
Yeah, a significant change from what we saw as recently as last week. It's an important caveat to point out that reporters are only allowed to watch about 5-10 minutes of practice. The Patriots show us what they want to show us during that span, so maybe there's some misdirection, maybe it's not exactly what it looked like, but what we saw is exactly what you mentioned. Bailey Zappe taking about 85-90% of the reps in the one kind of unopposed positional drill that we were able to watch. A little bit of Malik Cunningham, no Mac Jones. We watched the same drill in the same type of period last week. It was Mac Jones first, Bailey Zappe second, nobody else repping at all. So to me, from what they're showing in this practice today, it looks like Bailey Zappe is now the number one guy. And now, again, that's not guaranteed. There's plenty of time for that to change, and that might just be the Patriots trying to kind of throw us off and point us in a different direction. But it certainly looked a lot different than what we saw last week.
Will Greer, also back on the practice squad after being cut last week, was just standing there watching as well. What does that say to you for you this week? I mean, if it was your choice, up to you, it was all about who gets reps in practice, who earns a starting job. That's who will start Sunday. At this point, are you on board with, we saw what Mac provides. It's 2 interceptions, almost a fumble loss, basically 3 turnovers, which has been his regular this season. Are you to the point, too, where it's put Bailey out there, maybe doesn't get it done in practice, but you got to see what happens in a game with a full week of prep for him?
Yeah, that's exactly where I am. I think, and I don't know this for sure, but my theory on what happened last week was that the Patriots kind of wanted to start Bailey Zappe after the way that Mac Jones had performed, both earlier in the season and especially in Germany. But Bailey Zappe had struggled as well. They couldn't really justify just throwing him out there. So they said, okay, we'll have this kind of open competition in practice. Hope Bailey Zappe comes out there and wins the job. He didn't. They started Mac Jones, and he got benched after a half. I think Mac Jones is a better player than Bailey Zappe. I think he's probably practiced better than Zappe throughout the season. But he just looks completely mentally broken at this point. We've talked about it all year. He's still making the same mistakes. Those back foot throws, really ill-advised interceptions. He's playing the absolute opposite of winning football right now, and I think it's time to just pull the plug and give somebody else a shot. And also, one more quick point on that, notable that Bill Belichick mentioned an injury situation when he was asked about the quarterback depth chart this morning. Hard to tell at the time whether he was talking about the quarterback specifically or just kind of general roster management. It was one of those answers that he sort of pivoted and went off in a different direction, but going to be very interesting to see if Mac Jones is on the injury report today.
Yeah, good point on that one. Mac, full uniform, but standing off to the side, really looked disengaged in that drill altogether. Again, from like the 5 minutes of what we were able to see. But hey, also, notable absence at practice today. We did not see Demario Douglas out there. He had to leave the game early after getting clotheslined and being issued a head injury. The issue is there, whoever's at quarterback, and I agree with you, Mac has a better ability and talent, but confidence-wise is not there. But whoever's at quarterback, it's not like they're going to have much when it comes to talent and their weapons at their disposal.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty difficult situation for whoever is in there behind center on Sunday. Demario Douglas has really been their only reliable pass catcher over the last month or so, ever since Kendrick Bourne went out. Bourne was that guy earlier this season. He's done for the year. Hunter Henry was for the first 2 or 3 weeks, but we really haven't seen much from him since early October maybe. It's really been Douglas, a gigantic drop-off, and then the rest of the wide receivers and tight ends. So if you don't have him in there on Sunday, and typically when in the NFL, when players have a head injury, when they enter the concussion protocol, it's very difficult for them to clear that in 1 week. It does happen, but it's rare. So I would say at this point, it's looking more likely that Douglas will not be out there against the Chargers. You're probably going to see a very run-heavy game plan. Ramondre Stevenson and Ezekiel Elliott both have played well lately. The Patriots also actually have run the ball very well in their last 2 games. But yeah, the pass-catching group of pass-catching options is going to be very bare this week if Douglas can't be in there.
And given when it was Bailey Zappe at quarterback, Demario Douglas out there on the field, the average depth of target for Bailey Zappe was equivalent to what you'd see for like a JV quarterback at the high school level.
It was behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Yes.
Screen games, the one pass thrown further than 5 yards down the field, picked off. Here's the thing. So when we look back at Sunday still, Hunter Henry said after the game, he didn't know who was starting at quarterback until he got to MetLife Stadium. Bill Belichick saying today, when asked about that, will you involve the players in discussion? Let them know. He said, their job is to focus on their job. I'll focus on mine. Does this eat away at a roster and a locker room eventually where We want to know who it is. We want to know who the guy is, who to listen to, who to follow, and also, again, see it reflected in practice with reps so they can work on chemistry and rapport.
Absolutely. I think that it was a bad decision to do this last week. Again, if it was a legitimate kind of quarterback competition in practice, then maybe it makes a little bit of sense. But especially if you're going with Bailey Zappe this week, who hasn't started a game all season, hasn't started a game since last October. One, he needs the reps. You got to give him a full complement of starter reps. And two, you've got to make clear to the team and say, hey, this is our guy. We're rolling with him. I know this has been a bad season, but we're going to try to salvage it, and we believe he gives us the best chance to do that at this point. If Bill Belichick doesn't want to say that publicly, fine. That's his prerogative. He doesn't have to announce that to the media. But I think you need to make that clear within the locker room. You can't have players just wondering basically up until game day who is going to start. And there have been some conflicting reports on when exactly the players were informed about this. Bill Belichick said that he let the team know before they flew down to Jersey last week. As you mentioned, Hunter Henry indicated that might not have been the case. But you can't have that level of uncertainty. You already have enough uncertainty and dysfunction and whatnot on this Patriots team. You got to at least kind of settle some nerves a little bit and say, hey, this is our guy. We're going with him, and this is who we're going to play with this week.
And it's not just Hunter Henry finding out as a starting tight end for this offense. It's Hunter Henry finding out as one of the captains for the Patriots. So what he says is what I believe more than what Bill Belichick says, because he'll stretch the truth time to time when up at the podium. All right, Zach, as always, thanks for taking the time. For Zach Cox, George Blechy, that's it from Gillette Stadium. Stay locked on NESN.com, NESN360, and NESN's YouTube channel for full Patriots coverage throughout the week and, of course, throughout the season.